extraordinary variety of plants and animals on Earth make our planet unique. In its harmony and balance, the spectacle of nature is born of an age-old evolution that has endured almost as long as the Earth itself. To date, scientists have discovered nearly 2 million species. But this represents only 15% of life on Earth. Huge swaths of this planet's biodiversity are completely unknown, especially in our forests and oceans. Biodiversity produces oxygen, provides food for plants and animals, and helps to purify the soil and water. Our forests and oceans play an essential role in regulating climate, allowing billions of organisms to celebrate life on Earth. But this fragile balance is threatened.
Our lives depend on biological diversity. Species and ecosystems are disappearing at an unsustainable rate. We humans are the cause. We stand to lose a wide variety of environmental goods and services that we take for granted.
Researchers believe that the Earth is undergoing one of the most significant mass extinction events in its history, caused by our civilization. Our expansion is affecting the ecosystems of all other species.
We are changing our world, and species are disappearing.
As humans, we can have a drastic effect on this planet. We can't just do things and not think about the long-term consequences.
It's a serious issue. We need to change minds and change attitudes towards nature.
Human impact on biodiversity has greatly increased since the start of the Industrial Revolution during the 18th century. Massive technological and economic development have driven the expansion of our civilization across the planet. The Earth's population has grown from 700 million to 7 billion in less than 300 years. Worldwide, humanity has become a phenomenal force. Greenhouse gas levels have not been this high for over 1 million years. We have stripped large predators of their territories by confining them to reserves or by destroying the world's large forests. All over the Earth, plants and animals are increasingly struggling to coexist with humanity. Every day, nearly 130 species go extinct, probably one of the highest rates of extinction the Earth has ever seen. For several years, the oceanographic schooner Седна Жан has been sailing the world's oceans. After expeditions in the Arctic and Antarctic, its crew has now embarked on a 3-year voyage around the world. During their mission, 1,000 days for the planet, they will meet with scientists who have dedicated their lives to protecting biodiversity. Mission leader, Jana Lemira.
We set sail for Central America, a region with one of the highest diversity of species in the world. The preservation of habitats here is vital to the survival of thousands of species of fish, reptiles, and mammals. Here, The many shapes and bright colors of biodiversity stimulate our desire to protect them even more.
In Costa Rica, the team sets off in search of one of the last big cats of the Americas. These top predators in the food chain help control populations in their ecosystems. Scientists call the jaguar an umbrella species. By protecting it, the balance among all the other species that share its habitat is also protected. Unfortunately, the jaguar is threatened. Humans hunt its prey, and farms, ranches, and ever-expanding urbanization are fragmenting its territory. In less than a century, the jaguar's habitat has been cut in half. Today, it is confined to pockets of land that are becoming smaller and smaller. Maintaining connections among these pockets of land is essential to the genetic health of the species, because jaguars are part of a single extended family that stretches from Mexico to Argentina. In eastern Costa Rica, a reserve has been created to protect one of the jaguar's habitats. This is a private reserve that regularly attracts scientists such as biologist Jose Gonzalez and Jan Schipper. They have dedicated their lives to protecting these big cats.
Nice spot. Yeah. Oh, look at there, look at there.
Oh, yeah.
Those are jaguar marks.
Wow, even there.
All the way up.
So that's a good spot for jaguar.
This is a perfect spot. Yeah. This is the place we're shooting.
A jaguar has marked its territory by scratching a tree.
Get sunlight direct to it, and then the lock.
Installing a motion sensing camera will record the passage of jaguars and photo ID them. Using photographs over several years, researchers have shown that the reserve is frequented by about 14 jaguars. And videos highlight the problem of jaguars coexisting with local farmers.
Oh, look at that.
Oh my
What's
God.
this?
That's definitely a cow, and that looks like Cora.
Yeah, that's Cora, for sure. That's amazing.
That's amazing. Oh, see the power in his jaw.
Wow.
Wow.
With the strength of the animal.
Yeah. So I suppose that, you know, when a jaguar cut a cow like this, it brings lots of conflict.
Yeah, because that's the basis for conflict, people hunting jaguars in revenge. But on the other side, it is also a consequence of problems because people is hunting the prey base. So that's why they go out and hunt cattle, because they don't have anything else to eat.
Jaguars are more and more threatened because the increased conversion of virgin forest into livestock pasture reduces the prey available to them. The reserve has an area of about 100 square kilometers, which is not enough to support the jaguar population. Today, the reserve is bordered by a nearly continuous succession of pastures and cattle farms. The jaguars find it difficult to move among the isolated pockets of forest.
You can see there's only little patches here and there of forest with agriculture, clear-cut areas for cattle and so forth. Pastures obviously has very little value in terms of a jaguar being able to cross. So we don't necessarily need continuous virgin forest from here to the coast. We just need a mix of forest types along with different types of more sustainable agriculture to connect it. And that's a lot easier to sell that to landowners instead of saying, oh, we need to take your land away and put it in conservation.
The challenge for scientists is to protect the jaguars when they leave the reserve's boundaries. To do so, they must establish migration corridors. In this way, they hope to convince farmers to preserve sections of forest on their land that allow the big cats and their prey to move about their territory. But first, they must capture one.
So we use some pheromones to attract the animals.
By equipping a jaguar with a tracking collar, the scientists will be able to precisely monitor its movements.
And this is the trap. So it has a little mechanism like right in the bottom. We're gonna check it right now just to see if it's working fine. If jaguars disappear, what we're gonna see is just overabundance of many other species, probably changing entirely what we know as biodiversity right now. So it's a huge change that is gonna occur. That probably also works when you don't have sharks in the sea. The entire community changes.
Large predators are threatened all over the world, both on land and in the ocean. In recent decades, populations of sharks, tuna, and swordfish have declined by 90% around the world. During this same period, fishing intensity has increased dramatically. More and more, ecosystems are suffering the consequences of this overexploitation. In the coral reefs of the Caribbean, large predators are increasingly rare, which has weakened ecosystems and opened up a niche for an invasive species. The lionfish. Biologist Tim Pusak of the University of Oregon has studied this phenomenon for many years.
So lionfish that naturally live in the Indo-Pacific have been taken from their home by humans, brought over to the US because people like to have them in their aquariums. They're beautiful, stunning fish. It's great to look at them. The problem is they like to eat, and they like to eat a lot. So they'll tend to eat all the other fish that are in the aquarium, and so people just release it into the ocean.
Lionfish have begun to proliferate in Caribbean waters. Genetic studies show that the population began with only 6 individuals. Scientists are now studying the consequences of their presence in the food chain.
It appears that they can eat prey items that are up to about half their body size, which is rather large. They eat every and anything they can get their mouth on. Studies have found that a single lionfish could reduce the number of small coral reef fish by about 90%, so they're having a drastic effect, much greater than any native fish would have.
The smaller fish eaten by the lionfish generally consume large amounts of algae. With no fish left to eat the algae, they proliferate to the point where they suffocate the reef. The lionfish adapted quickly to its new habitat, and this fierce predator has taken advantage of the weakened ecosystems.
Populations exploded since the 1990s and now extend throughout the Caribbean, into the Gulf of Mexico, up the eastern seaboard of the US, and working their way down the coast of South America.
The remarkable adaptation of this invasive species to its new environment, combined with the overfishing of large fish, has weakened the health of coral reefs in the Caribbean. Panama has not been spared the influx of invasive species, which are weakening some of the world's richest ecosystems. These ecosystems are home to nearly 50% of the world's amphibian species. Frogs occupy one of the most important niches in the food chain. They consume large amounts of harmful insects and serve as food themselves for many species of reptiles, birds, and fish. In the field of medicine, they have also led to the development of antibiotics and are important in cancer research. Over the past 250 million years, they have withstood many catastrophes affecting life on Earth. But today, frogs are in trouble. A mysterious disease is attacking them where their numbers are highest. To make matters worse, these frogs are also weakened by insecticides and habitat loss. In just a few years, over 100 species have gone extinct. A few years ago, biologist Edgardo Griffith used to come to this river to study frogs.
I used to find 56 species of frogs around this stream alone. And now can't hear anything, really, you know.
The cause of this sharp decline? An invasive species. A mysterious fungus called chytrid has invaded the rivers of Panama's mountains.
The fungus arrived in 2005, killed 90% of the amphibian community, and in some cases 100% of the individuals of certain species. Came, kill, stay, and at the same time it's moving eastward, but it's also coming up from South America.
Found in Mexico as early as 1972, the disease spread to Central America. Other infection sites have been found all over the world. Today, over a third of the world's 6,000 known amphibian species are threatened with extinction.
To me, I used to be a field biologist. Now I think I'm like an extinction biologist.
For scientists, time is running out. Edgardo and his colleagues are trying to capture living frogs in the hopes of learning more about the disease. They organize regular searches in Panama's rivers. Chytrid is spreading at a rate of over 30 kilometers per year. Scientists are trying to understand how it spreads from region to region. When a species nears extinction in nature, scientists often have no other choice but to remove the few survivors from the wild.
Right here. This one might be one of the species that we need to focus more into it and see why they survive, you know.
The last remaining individuals of many frog species are today conserved in sterilized containers, isolated from the outside world, where the dangerous fungus threatens their survival. Like Noah's Arks, these containers are only a fragile and temporary means to preserve the genetic heritage of dozens of amphibian species. But this is the best that scientists can do.
Some of them are not dealing with chytrid yet in their populations, but we know it's going to get there sooner or later. So we're trying to rescue as many as we can, try to breed them, try to keep them healthy. This might be the last one, so it's a huge responsibility for us.
Yeah. In the name of all the frogs dying on the jungle floor, the search continues. Long considered among the most ideal frog habitats, Panama's forests are now a real threat to their survival. Today, this unprecedented epidemic is threatening the ecological balance of ecosystems around the world. In the Cayman Islands, it's increasing human population that is harming habitats. Over half of the original environment has been destroyed.
The population of the Cayman Islands is doubling every 12 years. What that means is the footprint on the land here that's taken over by humans is doubling every 12 years.
This habitat reduction is disastrous for certain endemic species, such as the blue iguana. Found only on Grand Cayman, it is considered one of the most threatened species in the world. As the island's largest herbivore, the blue iguana eats large amounts of fruits and flowers, which helps to disperse plant seeds over large areas. This is vital for maintaining the island's delicate plant diversity.
In 2002, we did a very detailed survey, and it was the most depressing survey I've ever been involved in, because all of the places we used to see iguanas, there were none. We think realistically it was probably more like 12 left in the wild, and they weren't finding each other to breed. So the population was doomed. It was functionally extinct, as we put it, technically speaking. They were there, but there was no future.
In 2002, Frederick Burton left his job to dedicate himself to the recovery of this species. Through trial and error, he learned how to hatch baby iguanas in incubators, far from their natural predators.
When they hatch, they're tiny, they're about this long, but they grow very, very fast. And by the time they're 2 years old, they're naturally predator-proof, effectively. They get too big for the native snakes.
Oh, this is the captive facility. We have a few hundred iguanas in here.
The young iguanas are given refuge at the Grand Cayman's Royal Botanical Park. Breeding adults, responsible for the proliferation of the species, are also kept here.
They have a need for a lot of space. I mean, we found this out. Originally, when we built this facility, we thought this was all we needed. And then we discovered they needed more space. We studied them in the wild, and then we found out, whoa, an animal like this would probably have a territory of maybe an acre or something like that.
2-year-olds that we're going to put out. So Jean, these are the cages where we have the 2-year-old iguanas, the ones that we're getting ready to release into the wild.
It is now time for these young iguanas to take their true place in nature. But will this new captive-born generation succeed in recolonizing Grand Cayman's weakened environment?
That's right.
Nice.
So you will sleep there for tonight, right?
Yeah, they'll be hanging in the backpacks, the same backpacks we're going to take in the morning. So they'll cool down and they'll be fine.
Ready to go.
After years of effort, Frederick Burton convinced the government to establish 2 protected areas on the island, where he can now release his young iguanas.
So Jean, we are on the boundary now of the Collier's Wilderness Reserve. This is the protected area on our left now. It's not huge, but the island isn't big, yeah?
By protecting the reserve from the assault of development, Frederick Burton has protected more than just the iguanas, because dozens of other threatened species also live here.
We will get rid of our packs here and we'll just take the iguana in. Here you go. Here's the box. Oh yes.
Whoa.
So now he will spend all night inside this box. All night he will sleep in here, and in the morning at first light he will come out into this strange world. And the population has gone from about 12 now to about 650, 700, somewhere around there.
A human initiative saved the blue iguana from extinction. Years of effort and protection have resulted in a protected area adapted to these animals' needs. Frederick Burton now hopes that these winning conditions will allow the most threatened reptile on the planet to begin breeding in the wild again.
The perseverance of Frederick Burton is inspiring. It proves that sometimes the efforts of a few dedicated people can make up for the abuses of society.
Sometimes evolution itself can put a species at risk.
All right.
Over time, a species can become isolated on an island, like Escudo de Veraguas, off the coast of Panama. Biologist Bryson Voiron has dedicated his life to studying what some scientists believe is the rarest mammal on Earth, the pygmy three-toed sloth. These sloths live in one of the world's most productive and most useful ecosystems in terms of biodiversity, the mangrove forest.
No, that looks like mangrove. It's not. It's really shallow.
In the tropics, mangroves protect shorelines from erosion, and they provide food and shelter for many threatened species.
Oh, hey, look, it's eating. There's a sloth right there. It's a female. Yeah, she's eating a leaf. She's got it right in her mouth.
Yeah, I see it. Yeah.
Oh, she's got a baby. Let's see if we're real quiet. Maybe we won't. It's one of the rarest mammals on Earth, and there's two of them right there.
The pygmy three-toed sloth is found only on the island of Escudo de Veraguas. Discovered in 2001, it was immediately classified as critically endangered. Recent studies have indicated that this sloth lives exclusively in the mangrove, making it even more vulnerable, because worldwide, mangroves are being affected by climate change and human development. At current rates, they could disappear entirely by the end of the 21st century. Bryson Voyerin is concerned about the survival of pygmy sloths because studies show that there are only 63 of them. During his last expedition, he attached radio collars to 10 sloths. Bryson expects to find them in the mangrove because the animals move very little and use the natural camouflage of the mangrove to avoid predators.
Oh, wow. There he is, right there.
Right there, in the mangroves again.
Yeah, he's still in the mangrove, so he hasn't really gone anywhere in the past month or so.
In the days that follow, he finds 9 of the 10 pygmy sloths, all in the mangrove. But the team is worried because one is missing.
Sebastian.
Jean.
Hi, Jean, Sebastian.
Hi, Sebastian. Yeah, we're just at the end of the mangroves. We lost our signal a little bit. We're gonna need some help.
Okay.
In 2005, several families of fishermen took up residence on the island. Their knowledge of the area could help find the missing sloth.
It doesn't really bother me.
Hay mucho.
You think that the one that live in the mangrove, they live in a mangrove, but there is a lot more right behind in the jungle here.
So let's check in the forest for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Muchas gracias.
This surprising information contradicts previous studies indicating that the mangrove is the pygmy sloth's sole habitat. Bryson decides to search in one of the channels leading into the forest.
Number 5 is the one that I just don't know where he went. But he might have actually gone out of the mangroves and into the forest, which would be pretty exciting because that means that he's actually eating other things besides mangrove leaves, and he's in the interior of the island maybe. Hopefully we can find him. All right, I got him on the 900 frequency. Hear that chirping? That's the sloth. So he must be straight back that way.
Every step away from the mangrove would appear to increase the credibility of the locals. But it is also possible that Bryson will only find the collar of a poached sloth. But if the sloth is found in the forest, it would be great news for the species. In nearby Costa Rica, Jan and Jose have yet to catch a jaguar. The scientists are concerned because the animal's distribution in the reserve is well known, and the lack of any tracks is surprising. They redouble their efforts in other sectors of the reserve. Capturing such a cunning animal is a huge challenge, but it's an essential part of the research, because only through a better understanding of the jaguar's migration patterns can its living space be increased. On Grand Cayman, Frederick Burton and his blue iguanas have benefited from their protected habitat for nearly 2 years.
Joel. There's a hatchling.
Yeah, that's great.
That's the first wild-born young iguana we have ever seen in this area. This is a wild iguana that has hatched here in the protected area.
So it is working.
It's working. It's
great.
Working. I think it's very interesting working on a small island because it is like a microcosm of what is going on everywhere in the world. And it's very important, I think, for people working in conservation to spend at least part of their time working on things that can succeed. It's important for personal motivation, but it's also important for the way that conservation is presented to the world. People get very tired of hearing bad news stories all the time.
The wild birth of a baby iguana is a triumph of nature. On Escudo de Veraguas, the radio signal leads Bryson Boyrin on his quest.
Yeah, you could just see her fur. Hey, buddy. Okay. Look at that. Wow. Whew. Victoria. Hey. Whoa, you're looking big. Oh, man.
That's great.
Oh, she looks great. Look at her.
Yeah. That's great.
She looks like she's been doing very good here in the forest and not in the mangroves, so she looks very healthy. You know, one thing I think that this shows is that even though the mangroves are being cut, that may not be as big of a risk for the pygmy sloths, because if they're able to eat other things in the forest, at least they have other food sources besides just the mangroves. So I'm pretty confident to say that there are more sloths than just 63 on Escudo. There are probably a lot more. If they're in the whole island here like this, that means the population is pretty good.
Ready to go?
All right,
Yeah,
Victoria.
back to home, sweet home.
So the locals were right. If the pygmy sloths are spread over the entire island and live in its abundant forest, scientists will have to re-examine their numbers and maybe even the status of the species. It's fantastic news for the pygmy three-toed sloth. This important discovery was the result of collaboration between scientists and the island's inhabitants.
El último es. ¿Dónde está el
But the happiness of this day is short-lived. Not far away, a nasty surprise awaits the scientists. A green turtle, another endangered species, is trapped in the dugout of a group of poachers.
So here in the islands, you know, so they're probably gonna cut it up, smoke it, and then they will cook it slowly till they're finished with it. And this animal can stay at least a week before he starts to get weak.
Do they really know what they're doing?
I really think they really know what they're doing. The police would come around here maybe 1 or 2 times in a month, just pass around looking for drugs people, but they really don't looking to see if people killing sea turtle.
That's pretty sad to see.
It's pretty sad, you know, for me, it's because, you know, I worked 13 years protecting sea turtle with the Peter Maitland Animal project in Cayusapatia. And my father got more than 20 years saving them, you know, trying to save them, and I do the same, you know, so it's pretty sad to see they catch it and they're going to kill it, you know.
Poaching is yet another threat in the fight to conserve endangered species. And the problem is widespread, even in protected areas.
So?
Bad news?
Nothing?
Nothing. We checked all the traps again, where we put the extra pheromones out last night, and nothing.
No tracks, nothing.
No tracks. We actually went along a couple extra trails and checked that where there were some muddy spots from the rain that we had the other day. We haven't seen a track since you've been here.
Well, that's life, I suppose.
Yep, we're obviously very concerned about what might be causing this. Even if we have all this conservation momentum behind us, it can just take a few people to come in and maybe snare some animals, which is what we're hearing. It's depressing.
But where are Cora and the other jaguars? There are rumors that poachers have recently been operating inside the reserve, and two of them were even bold enough to brag of their horrible acts on social networks.
Oh my God, that's sad.
It's a catastrophe for the local population, which numbers only 14 jaguars.
How far should we go to protect threatened species? A private militia patrols the reserve every day. Around here, they don't mess around when it comes to conservation. There are rampant rumors that up to 11 jaguars have been killed in the region, possibly even within the boundaries of the reserve. Jaguar skins have been found on the black market.
It makes me sad because it's as if they were threatening members of my own family. So I don't know what we're going to do with these poachers. So much work, love, and sacrifice over so many years, only to see our jaguars killed. We're going to return to the mountain and try to find these hunters who shoot at anything that moves.
On Little Cayman, another type of hunting party is being organized. Local diving associations are mobilizing to wipe out the lionfish, the species now considered the worst poacher in the Caribbean. But the divers must keep up the hunting pressure if they are going to neutralize this invasion, because lionfish reproduce extremely quickly. This is not sustainable. So they have turned to a more natural solution. They are enlisting the help of the few groupers that live near the coastline. Little by little, they are training them to hunt the invader. Who knows whether these few fish will develop a taste for the lionfish and transmit this new feeding habit to other fish. Earth's ecosystems are today weakened and threatened by a variety of external pressures. Conservation efforts are vital, but the hard work of many can be completely undone by the greed of just a few.
Buying the turtle's freedom cost only a few dollars. A modest sum given the situation. We even wondered if we were not trying to appease our own conscience in the face of so much indifference. But this was a living symbol of nature's difficult coexistence with humanity. We just couldn't leave it there and do nothing.
I'm optimistic because I believe we can change things, and if a human being realizes the importance, there's still something we can do, but we are right on the edge.
The coral reef system could be in dire straits, but we need to take efforts in order to mitigate these, and we can stop fishing larger fish and keep them on the reef, and it's important that we do it now.
I'm not really sure which species will survive and which will survive in the future, but I think life will find a way.
The lionfish invasion really highlights for me is the importance for humans to understand that they can have a drastic effect, and they need to realize what they're doing before they do it.
When you're in a forest with predators, it gives you a new respect for life. It gives you a new respect for the connectivity of all things. You actually feel like you're not on the top of the world. Maybe that's where we should begin, is to not just educate people in the classroom, but take people out of the classroom into what's left of the wilderness so that we can actually save it.
If you inspire people and educate them, I think then they'll start to care more about it and help protect it.
The troubled coexistence between humans and the different forms of life on our planet too often translates into the loss of species that play key roles in ecosystems. Perhaps we can draw inspiration from the remarkable work of scientists who dedicate their lives to preserving endangered species. Humanity has a duty to re-establish a harmonious relationship with nature, and do it soon. It is within our grasp to sustainably and harmoniously develop the Earth's resources. But time is running out if our legacy to future generations is to inspire a wave of change and a new attitude, one of respect for biodiversity and the essential harmony among all forms of life.